You're listening to the weekly Parsha Podcast with Ari Goldwag, recorded with Hashem's never-ending assistance in Ramat Beit Shemesh, Israel 5785, 2025. This week's Parsha is Parsha's Sisa. And of course, Friday in everywhere besides Yerushalayim is Purim, and Shabbos Sunday is also Purim in Yerushalayim. So I'd like to share with you a thought that connects our Parsha, connects the concept of the Shviras Luchos, the fall of Am Yisrael, the destruction of the throwing down. Moshe Rabbeinu threw down the Luchos, the 10 Commandments, the 2 tablets. I'd like to show you how that connects to Purim, and there's a very deep lesson here, and we're going to see an amazing medrash in Medrash Rabbah in Esther, also a piece in our Parsha, Parsha Sisa, in the medrash, and the message is for us today, and it talks about redemption. Esther, the story of Esther, immediately preceded the building of the Beis Hamikdash. It was her son, Daryavesh, who allowed the Jewish people to build the Beis Hamikdash, ultimately complete it. And there was a tremendous light that came into the world through Purim, through this story. And it connects to the great light that was meant to come down. It did eventually come down. It took another 120 days for it to come down properly. But the light that was supposed to come down with the giving of the Aseret HaDibros, there's a parallel. And this parallel is expressed in the Medrash Rabbah. It's in Parsha Ches, and it's in section Daled. It's on the Pasuk, in the 4th chapter of Esther, 5th Pasuk, Vatikra Esther l'Hasach. So Esther finds out that Mordechai is wearing sackcloth, and he's fasting. She doesn't know what's going on. So she sends a message, Ladas Mazeh v'al Mazeh. She wants to know, what is this? What is this about? So this language is interesting. Mazeh v'al Mazeh. What's this? What's this? What's this about? Amr Loi. So the Medrash says that Esther sent her messenger Hasach to speak to Mordechai to find out what did she want to know. Amr Loi mimem shel Yisrael loibo l'tzara kazois. There's never been a time where the entire Jewish people was threatened with annihilation. This was very unusual. It's very unusual that the Jewish people should be threatened with annihilation. We're only familiar with this type of situation because we lived so soon after the Holocaust. But until this time, saying the destruction of the entire Jewish people didn't enter the minds of our enemies. Perhaps they wanted to fight with us. Perhaps they wanted to conquer us. Perhaps they wanted to make us into slaves, but never this type of complete destruction. So she said, what's this about? Adas mazeh ve'al mazeh. So there was a hint in the question, in the language of the question, to something else. Shema kafru Yisrael b'zeh ke'li vanveu. We find 2 different places that the Medrash points out where it says the word zeh, which means this, mazeh ve'al mazeh. One place where we see it is where Klal Yisrael had the intense revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu as they walked through the Yam Suf, as they experienced the splitting of the sea. So they said, Zeh ke'li vanveu. They saw Hashem, as it were. They experienced an open revelation of Hashem. They said, this is my God, and I will glorify Him. So she wanted to know, perhaps Am Yisrael was denying Hashem. Perhaps they no longer could see Hashem, and therefore they were doing things of kfirah. They were not fulfilling the Torah properly. They were not learning the Torah properly, as we'll see. V'shemakafu baluchos. She was afraid that perhaps this decree had come because they had denied the Luchos. That which it says in the Luchos. Of course, the first commandment is that I am Hashem, your God. But really the entire Torah. And the Pasuk tells us about the Luchos, that they were written. Right? That's our Parsha. They were written on both sides. You could see the letters went through miraculously from one side to the other. And you could read even though it should be a mirror image, it wasn't, as our sages tell us. But the bottom line is that when she uses the words, what's this about? What's this about? She says the word this. It's referring to the fact that perhaps this is because they didn't recognize Hashem, who they had said, this is my God. Perhaps it's because of the fact that they didn't learn the Torah, they didn't keep the Torah, which it says about it, that it's written on this side and this side. So it's very interesting. So we have inside of the story And the point of Am Yisrael's being decreed upon, meaning they've done something wrong. She's saying it must be connected all the way back to something that has to do with their lack of faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which really is what happened with the Egel, right? As he's coming down, and as we'll see, it's an amazing thing. Hashem is giving Moshe Rabbeinu the Luchos. He's giving him the tablets, and as he's doing that, Am Yisrael is sinning with the golden calf at the very same moment. It's very interesting to try to understand and contemplate why is that happening at the same exact moment. But the idea is that Am Yisrael, when we sin and we're heaven forbid, we've done wrong, and heaven forbid, there's a decree upon us, it's going to be related to this. It's going to be related to the fact that we're not properly in relationship with Hashem. We don't recognize that God is our King. This is our God, and we should glorify Him. We're missing that. And we also mess up in regards to our relationship with the Torah, with our relationship to the Luchos, to the tablets which represent Hashem's will for us. So let's see. So that's the first piece in the Medrash, but I'd like to share with you the continuation of the Medrash. Vayagid lo Mordechai es kol asher karo. And listen up here, this is very interesting. And you're going to hear something that really sounds like what's going on today. But the Medrash understands it, of course, to be talking about what happened in the times of Mordechai and Haman, Mordechai and Esther. Let's see this together. So Mordechai, in response to Esther's question, she asked, what's this all about? What's going on? So Mordechai responds and sends her back a message about all that happened to him. Kol asher karohu. So this language is very interesting. Kol asher karohu. What is this language? All that happened, right? There's no happenstance in the world. Amar la asach lechem orla beminay shel karohu ba'alechem. So part of the message was that he was saying to Hasach to go back and tell the message to Esther that the word karohu means all that happened. Who's the one that talks about happened? In whose context do we find the word happened? So it's the great-great-great-grandfather of Haman. The pasuk says that the people of Amalek, from whom Haman descended, they were people who happened upon Am Yisrael. They happened to bump into us and attack us as we were about to get the Torah. Amazing thing. As we're about to get the Torah, they come and attack us. As the revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is unfolding and manifesting, we went out of Egypt, we're on our way to receive Hashem's will at Har Sinai. In comes Amalek to try to destroy us. And where do they come? They come in the moment of, as the Meforshim explained, the Rifyan. There's a weakness in Torah. When we are weak in our relationship with Hashem, when we don't have the proper dedication to learning, when we don't have the proper dedication to making sure we're doing Hashem's will, which is expressed in the Torah, that's what lets in Amalek. That's what lets in Amalek. In other words, Mordechai was saying, yes, it's true. Am Yisrael is being attacked. Am Yisrael is being open to attack by Haman, Amalek, because of the fact, just like in the time of the Midbar, as Am Yisrael was on their way to receive the Torah, they weakened their relationship. They already had some commandments to learn. They already had some Torah precepts that were taught at Mara, and when they were about to leave Egypt, they weakened themselves from that, and that opened the door for Amalek to be able to come in. But now the Medrash says something even more interesting. Davar acher asher karohu, says the Medrash another idea, which is also related. Asher karohu, what does it mean? He told him all that happened to him. Bachaloim. It means that he sent a message to Esther that had to do with a dream that he had had long before, when Esther was still living in his house. So Mordechai had had a dream, and in that dream there was a revelation about some future event. And again, we're going to see that it sounds like what's going on today, but it's something that ripples through time. What's the dream? It was in the second year of King Achashverosh's rule. So this is, I believe, before Esther was taken to the palace. He saw in his dream, he saw there was an incredible noise powerful confusion on the earth, and fear, existential fear for all those who live in the world. There were two great serpents. This is referring to serpent as always the force of evil, right? Two great serpents, and these two great serpents were coming at each other, prepared for war. And everyone is screaming. All the nations of the world are screaming, what's going to happen? There's an incredible war that's about to commence. In the middle, between those two great serpents, between those two great forces of evil, there was a little nation. Obviously, that's Am Yisrael. And all the nations of the world came, and they wanted to destroy that one little nation. On that day, there was great darkness in the world. And what was the result? The result was that there was tremendous pain for that small nation, and they called out to God. This is all in Mordechai's dream. Turn back to the other scene. You have the two serpents that are cruelly fighting each other. There's anger and there's nothing to separate between them. What does he see in his dream? We're going to see how this applies to Purim, and you can hear very clearly how it might apply to our times. But Mordechai saw a small spring of water passes between these two great serpents. And it separates between them the war that they were in the middle of fighting. So the wars that have been going on, they start to seem that they're going to stop. And this water gets stronger. It becomes a flowing river. And this water spreads and gets larger and engulfs the entire world. This is all Mordechai's dream, and so in his dream he sees the sun is shining, the water that separates between the warring factions. So it comes and the sun shines on the entire world. And then the small nation, which is obviously Am Yisrael, is raised up, and those who think they're so high are lowered. And there was peace and truth in all of the land. Peace and justice. So Mordechai saw this dream, and he knew that something's about to happen. He knew it's a redemptive dream. This is talk of Mashiach, right? Obviously the dream is there's going to be some kind of powerful serpents, some kind of powerful two great forces going against each other. So we can think about how that applies today. I'm not going to really get into that. But the Meforshim explained that Mordechai understood when Haman came up against him, Asher Karahu, when Haman, who is from the seed of Karahu, he's from Amalek, he's coming up, he's facing off with Mordechai. So there's a sense that this is it, this is the dream. Mordechai is one serpent, Haman is the other serpent. They're coming against each other to fight each other, and Am Yisrael is in the middle, because Haman wants to destroy all of Am Yisrael as a result of what Mordechai did. And Mordechai understood that this is the dream, and that if I'm saying now pshat, what's water? Water is Torah. If we can hold on to the Torah will come in and it will flow between these two great serpents, and it will end their war. And ultimately, that one nation will be raised up. That's Am Yisrael. And the nations of the world who wish to destroy Am Yisrael, they'll be destroyed. I want to just read the very end of it. There's only 3 lines left. When he had the dream, he didn't allow that dream to go out of his mind. He always remembered it. And when Haman was interacting with Mordechai in this difficult way. So he sends the message to Esther. Remember that dream that I had when you were young? It's happening. You have to get up and pray in front of Hashem. So the message understands that the water that's going to come and separate is going to be Esther herself. But as the Meforshim explain, the issue here had to do with Torah. Am Yisrael had weakened themselves from Torah. Just like it was as we were on our way to get to Har Sinai and Amalek comes in, we weakened ourselves in Torah. So too it was then. And that allowed Amalek to come in and to try to destroy Am Yisrael. But ultimately, as we strengthen ourselves in Torah, and Esther requests that we fast, which means we are coming back into a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So then that's the powerful way that we are able to destroy our enemies. That's what gives strength to our Chel Ha'avir, to our Air Force. That's what gives strength to our soldiers. Now, I want to bring you back to Parshas Sisa. I want to read to you something amazing and powerful that, of course, ties into what we're saying, and it has to do with the Luchos. It has to do with the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu was being given the Luchos at the very moment that Am Yisrael was sinning with the golden calf, with the Egel Hazav. Pasuk says, the Medrash brings the Pasuk, Vayitan al Moshe, Hashem gave to Moshe the Luchos, and he was about to bring them down. He tells him, watch out, you got to go down there. Am Yisrael has sinned. And then he says, and then he goes down, he breaks the Luchos, destroys the Egel Hazav, Am Yisrael is sinning. But the Pasuk says, in Tehillim, V'atitein li magen ishecha, magen hu l'chol ha'chaysim bai. I believe that this pasuk is in the same location as that. V'anvoscha sarbeini. You gave me a shield of salvation. Yeah. And, I'm sorry, I missed part of the pasuk. V'yamincha sisadeini. Your right hand holds me up. Says the Medrash, that's referring to the Torah. The Torah is that which gives us strength, helps us and protects us against our enemies, helps us and protects us against anything that could cause us damage. Van voscha tarbeini. And in the same pasuk it says that God's great humility makes us even greater, gives us abundance. So the Medrash first has one shot in that. It's talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself, God's great anivus, but how does it manifest? Amar ben Azai says, come and see the incredible humility that God has. Basav Adam, a human being, Melech Basav Adam, B'nai Sheba Olam, sorry, I'm reading this a little funny here, B'nai Sheba Olam, Melech Basav Adam, Kol HaYom Shabriyas Mishlamim Lai. If you have a king, a human king, so if his subjects are faithful to him, he does whatever they want, he takes care of them. He has a welfare system, he takes care of his people, he makes sure that the food is flowing in for them, whatever they need. He takes care of them, he makes sure everything is taken care of, he has a proper army to protect them. Everything is good. If let's say they rebel against their king, he doesn't deal with them for anything in the world. He stops all of the things that he was doing on behalf of his nation if they rebel. Why? Because they rebelled against his kingship. HaKadosh Baruch Hu ain't a king. Says the Medrash, an amazing thing, Hashem is not like that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even as we're sinning in the same moment, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, at the moment that we're getting ready to worship the golden calf, Hashem is giving Moshe Rabbeinu the Torah. He's giving him the Luchos, the tablets, which have the whole Torah written on them. Meaning he's giving them, the cure as they're in the middle of the sickness. Am Yisrael is rebelling against God, but Hashem is the king, and he's not a king like a human king. He still loves them, and he still wants to give them everything that they need. The Torah is all life. Do you ever find a greater humility in a king? Hashem is our king, and Hashem, as Am Yisrael is sinning against them, Hashem is preparing the way for them to reconnect to Him. Hashem is preparing the way for them to be able to have a relationship with Him. And if we think about it, first of all, it's an amazing thing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we are doing the worst things against Him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu still loves us. Hashem still wants a relationship with us. Hashem has it ready for us. But at the same time, the troubles are on the way. The troubles are coming, right? Moshe Rabbeinu comes down, he breaks the Luchos, which means you have no relationship with Hashem. Am Yisrael's in trouble. There's a Magefa, 3,000 people die. He has to go back up for 40 days, another 40 days, until he finally procures atonement for Am Yisrael. But in that moment, HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves us, and sometimes that love manifests as danger for Am Yisrael. Why? Because we broke our relationship with Him. The Luchos broke, as the Medrash explains, because the letters flew off. The only thing that was holding it up is like a human being, a person, there's something called dead weight. When a human being is alive, so the soul that's inside of him makes the person light. And then when a person is dead, the person is more heavy. The Luchos also, they had a neshama, they had a soul, they had the letters, they had the soul, HaKadosh Baruch Hu imbued into them, and when Am Yisrael sinned, that soul went out, and the Luchos became heavy, and Moshe dropped them. And that's when Am Yisrael sees that they're broken. They're as broken as the Luchos. And when Am Yisrael is in this story with Mordechai and Esther, they're distant from Hashem. They broke the Luchos. They weren't learning Torah. They weren't in that relationship. They forgot. Zeh keli vanveu. Esther recognizes it. Mizeh. There's a problem here. They forgot the relationship with Hashem. They forgot the Torah. But that opens up the ability for our enemies to damage us. And think about what happened just now. When we have a lack of unity, when we're sinning, when we're out of relationship with Hashem, it opens us up for them to come in. Amalek comes in, and he attacks the weak ones amongst us. But then what happens is Am Yisrael does tshuva. Am Yisrael steps up. Am Yisrael rededicates itself. Naturally. It's an unbelievable thing. Naturally, we rededicate ourselves to our relationship with Hashem, to Anochi, to Zeh keli vanveu. This is my God. I recognize the miracles Hashem has done for us throughout this incredibly long war. Hashem is doing miracles for us all the time, protecting us, taking care of us. When we're recognizing that and we're doing tshuva, and the hostages are returning and they're doing tshuva, they're coming back. B'derech emuna bacharti. They chose the path of faith. And that water comes between Am Yisrael and between our enemies, Amalek, the Amaleki people of today. And that water comes and it brings a certain peace into the world. And those who wish our destruction, they are destroyed. And Am Yisrael is raised up. And just like it was in those times, just like ultimately it was after the sin of the Egel, of the golden calf, Am Yisrael was raised up, commanded to build a Mishkan. So too it's going to be in our times. So too we're going to see an incredible revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. With the Beis HaMikdash, hopefully very soon. I want to bless you and ask you to bless me. Hashem should help us to see the pattern, to learn from the story, to recognize in ourselves that sometimes we also have this in our personal lives, in our personal relationships with Hashem. Hashem should help us to get back to the Zeh keli vanveu, to get back to the Luchos, to bring that broken heart, the broken Luchos, bring those pieces back together. Kadosh Baruch Hu should help us that we should do this personally and nationally. Hashem should help us to see the ultimate redemption speedily and in our days. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful Purim and a wonderful Shabbos.
This podcast was made possible through the gracious donations of listeners like you. For more podcasts like this, please visit www.arigoldwag.com or search on iTunes Ari Goldwag.